now entering the truth zone, deep into the vortex of the information revolution with your host, Michael B.
I am your host, Michael B., and this is The Truth Zone, coming to you live on Happy Hump Day. It is Wednesday, June 14th, 2017, coming to you live from North Dallas, Texas. And I think we got a good one here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Attorney General Jeff Sessions' testimony, the top 10 highlights courtesy of Infowars.com, Alex Jones. That's going to be a good clip for you. And should the Pittsburgh baseball team change its name to the Butt Pirates? And we'll get into that later on in the show. I'm going to try to keep this show within an hour. Yesterday was an hour and a half, and I felt that it was just too long. But I appreciate all of you listening in, whether it be live or whether you download it or whether you just play it off the stream. We, together, have reached over 1,000 listens in a month. And I think that's pretty good. And I thank all of you that are following me. And I thank you for your words of encouragement. There have been many. There's been some nastiness too. And it's a shame, really, that I've had to dub some sycophantic Trump supporters as Trump flakes. And then I came up with a new one. We have snowflakes, Trump flakes, libtards, and reptards. And again, this is not a knock on President Trump. I totally support him. I voted for him. I'm glad that I voted for him. He was the best option on either side of the aisle, and we, the American people, made that clear. And we're approaching the 5-month mark, and I have no regrets. That doesn't mean that I am not allowed to give my opinion when I think that he hasn't done something for the benefit of the country. And I'll list them really quick. I didn't think it was appropriate for him, Donald Trump, to allow Nikki Haley to so quickly condemn Bashar Assad for the chemical weapons attacks that took place on Syrian civilians a couple of months ago. Like Rand Paul, I felt that we should have an independent investigation first, because the last time the Assad government was accused of a chemical weapons attack, it turned out to be, it was actually the ISIS rebels that did the attack. So I felt that it was important to have an investigation first. That was it, okay? I don't agree with the Saudi Arabian arms deal. Donald Trump pushed for this 28-page report on 9/11 to be declassified and explained to the public. Well, according to the 28-page memo, it appeared that Saudi Arabia financed the plot. Now, I know Saudi Arabia's involvement and the United States government's involvement runs way, way deeper than Saudi Arabia providing financial support to the plot. But even if we believe that narrative, how then is it not an act of war? Saudi Arabia financed, they are an accomplice to over 3,000 Americans being killed in one day, right? So, where's the declaration of war? Where's the discontinuation of foreign aid? Where's the discontinuation of a so-called alliance? Where's the discontinuation of doing business with these people? And where is the freezing of their assets in the United States of America? Instead, Donald Trump rewards them by selling them our weapons. I got a problem with it. That doesn't work for me. The American Health Care Act, where Planned Parenthood is only defunded for one fiscal year. Not forever, one fiscal year. That tells me, using logic, that after that fiscal year, Planned Parenthood starts to get federal funding again. I've got a problem with that. I'm a devout Christian. Life begins at conception. Abortion is murder. My federal tax dollars shouldn't be going towards it. So, I got a problem with that. I've got a problem with that bill stating that if I have a lapse in coverage, then when I'm able to get coverage again, I get hit with a 30% surcharge. Not to the government, but to the insurance company that I get insurance with. Of course, I don't see it explained. Is the 30% for the year, or is the 30% for the first month? Either way, it's outrageous. Let's say I have a family plan, and we'll use the numbers easy. Let's say it's $1,000 a month. If this 30% surcharge was on the first month, it would still be $300, okay? If the 30% surcharge is for the first year, we're looking at a whopping $3,600 penalty. I've got a problem with that. So, and there were other things in the bill I didn't like. Rand Paul and the Freedom Caucus didn't like it. So, I'm allowed to be critical of the President of the United States, no matter what his name is. And then, 2 days ago, which the barrage still continues, I took umbrage with the fact that Ivanka Trump said the economy is booming. No, it isn't. And when I was first I was called snowflake, liberal, Trump hater, and all sorts of ugly names, too. Right off the bat, without anyone providing intellectual refutes against my claim, right? And I did provide an article on a separate post. So I was then asked to provide further proof. I gave 4 references. Now, those references weren't good enough. Some was mainstream media, and some was independent media. I covered both sides. Still called fake news. And then a couple of idiots decided to say that I was schooled by their references. NPR and CNN. Which, by the way, reading those articles, they both say the 138 jobs were a disappointment. Fell short of projections. Even they said it. Their own websites trying to use it against me. They couldn't, because even those websites said fell short of projections. That is not an economic boom. That's all. But no. It's been almost 48 hours and the attacks continue. And then I'm told by someone, well, I know this place in Northeast Ohio, they did a 10% increase in the night shift. It's booming. Well, that is good news that, they upped their people by 10%. That's great news. Of course, we don't know what that night shift is. If it's 10 people, you're looking at 1 to 1.5 people hired. If it's 20, you're looking at 2 to 3 people hired. Not exactly a boom. It's good. It's nice. I mentioned that the first coal plant in years is opening in Pennsylvania. That's good news. Absolutely. But let's not go crazy and say the economy is booming. And those two websites that admitted that 138 jobs created fell short. But see, they did not go deeper. I found, and one was mainstream, CNBC, and the others were zerohedge.com and a website from Michael Snyder. If you don't know who Michael Snyder is, I believe it's at economiccollapse.org, so you can look him up. And I provided him. They went a layer under. And they reported that of the 138 net gain in jobs created, 133,000 of them were low-wage, part-time jobs. Now, I'm not an expert, but 138,000 minus 133,000 leaves 5,000 possible full-time quality jobs. Divided by 50 states, according to my calculations, is 100 quality jobs per state. I would not call that an economic boom. It was also pointed out that retail stores are taking an absolute beating. And I said, to be fair, a large, probably a good chunk of it is the transition to online purchasing. No problem. Also, you can't say that's 100%. Even if you give a 50-50 split, retail stores and shopping malls are closing. Consumer confidence after the euphoria of Trump winning the election and being sworn in has now decreased. It's a fact. The euphoria of the Dow Jones exploding has worn off, and it has basically flatlined. Fact. It's not Trump hating. It's not criticizing Trump. It's just facts. But people don't want facts. No. It's the same way the Obama sycophants didn't want any facts for 8 years. Didn't want to hear it. Didn't want to hear that the Dow Jones was artificially inflated. Didn't want to hear that the bulk of the jobs created were part-time jobs in the restaurant and fast food industries. They didn't want to hear it. And now we fast forward to present day, and it seems the Trump sycophants don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear and read the same data that they pumped themselves for 8 freaking years under Obama. Don't want to hear it. Even Mark Levin, probably even more mainstream right-wing than Rush Limbaugh, for 8 years gave us an illustration of what the real unemployment rate is. Mark Levin never believed the Department of Labor's blanket U3 unemployment percentage of, it was like 8 in 2009, then it decreased, and by the time Obama left office, it was like 4.6, 4.5, somewhere in there. Mark Levin never, ever took that at face value. But now, you people on Facebook, you want to take that 4.3% and run with it now because Trump is president. Now the numbers are real. How is that not being hypocritical? I am so happy that I am a registered independent, that I am a constitutional conservative, and above all, I am a Christian. I love being identified in that light because that's exactly what I am and who I am. I'm really disappointed at the viciousness of attacks just because I provided data from multiple sources, and within those sources there are other sources hyperlinked. But because I'm not kissing Donald Trump's ass, I'm a bad guy, and that's putting it mildly. That's a joke. You people doing that to me are no better than the libtards that did it to you. No better. You're no better than they are. And I'm so happy that I am not among you. So, continuing with the job situation, coming from Reuters.com, Time Inc. to cut 300 positions or 4% of their workforce in a memo. So Time Inc. said on Tuesday, that's yesterday, it is eliminating 300 positions or 4% of its workforce through layoffs and buyouts, according to an internal memo reviewed by Reuters. The cuts were being made as the New York-based media company, which publishes dozens of magazines, including Time, Sports Illustrated, and Fortune, is looking to cut costs and reinvest in growth areas, according to the memo from Chief Executive Officer Rich Batista to employees. Time Inc., like its peers in the publishing industry, has been struggling in print circulations, struggling as print circulations shrink and advertisers shift to digital platforms. Yeah, okay, fine. Not criticizing Donald Trump, just giving you facts. The jobs are still being lost, and I understand that it's a transition, but nonetheless, let's not say everything is rosy and bright. Time replaced as chief executive officer and evaluated a sale earlier this year after activist hedge fund John Partners LLC unveiled a stake in the company. Meredith Corp made a preliminary offer to buy Time in April, but the bid fell short of price expectations and ultimately the deal failed. So, here's Time Inc. cutting 400 jobs. Just the way it is. Now, another problem that we have, and it's not being talked about yet, because still, I believe, 90% of Americans are still watching television news, Fox, MSNBC, CNN, C-SPAN, and everything is Russia, Russia, Russia. So people like me that have been outside the box for years, we go to independent media. Coming from The Hill via Infowars.com, Senate Republicans continue to play games with taxpayers as the GOP considers keeping Obamacare taxes. Well, that is that scumbag Paul Ryan. Okay, senators are seriously considering keeping in place some Obamacare taxes for longer than the House passed bill would, as they seek to draft health care legislation that can pass their chamber with a simple majority. Republicans are looking to slowly phase out extra federal funds for Medicaid expansion, beef up the new tax credits for buying insurance, and add money for opioid abuse treatment. But they'll have to pay for it to ensure the bill passes muster. That's because the Senate health care bill must save at least as much money as the House's legislation. Some senators are interested in additions to the health care bill that could cost the government, and savings would have to be found elsewhere, perhaps in some of the taxes. Senator John Thune from South Dakota, the chamber's number 3 Republican, said. Well, you see, here's the problem with that. And I'm sorry, folks, I have to go to the CEO of the President of the United States, and that's Donald J. Trump. This article is talking about the GOP Senate wants to cut costs gradually to Medicare expansion, etc., etc. It has been proven by the JFK administrations, the Ronald Reagan first term administration, and several others before that. Well, not several, actually just a few. When you cut taxes across the board, the IRS actually takes in more revenue. How is that possible? Well, when taxes are cut across the board, the job market expands for real. That's your real economic boom. You have more people going to work, and good work. So, the IRS makes more money in volume. Less percentage, but more in volume. Also, because more people are back to work, there are less people on government assistance. So you have less money going out. More money coming in, less money going out. So, the reduction of taxes across the board should have been first priority. Instead, for some reason, Donald Trump wants his health care bill passed first, signed into law, and then restructure the tax code. That's incorrect. And you have to wonder why this man, who is arguably the greatest businessman of the last 50 years, why doesn't he realize that when you lower taxes, more money is actually collected in tax revenue when you lower the taxes? JFK and Ronald Reagan proved it. There's precedent. So you have to wonder what is really going on in his mind. You have to question these things, folks. There's nothing wrong with it. Why the hell is he not lowering taxes first? You got to ask the question. Personally, I don't think that anybody wants to really lower taxes. I don't think they do. And I think we're just treated to little dribs and drabs. He got us out of the Paris climate. Yes, he's lowered business regulations, so now we have a coal plant. Wonderful. But the real meat and potatoes is that freaking tax reform that should have been first. And that bill should have already been created, should have already been going through the voting process. It should have taken place way before this AHCA business. He's putting the cart before the horse. It's incorrect. And you've got to wonder why he's doing it this way. I don't like it. Now, also coming from Infowars.com, we have from Paul Joseph Watson. As all of you, I'm sure, know this morning. Now, I just got to ask the question. I mean, I don't know. They said it happened this morning. Like, what was it, 7 a.m. or something Eastern time? Who the hell was at baseball practice? I mean, am I to understand that 50, 60-year-old senators were playing baseball at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning? Seriously? But all right. Anyway, a leftist gunman shoots Republican congressman in media-inspired terror attack. The attacker deliberately targeted Republicans. Congressman Steve Scalise, which I got the latest email update, that it looks like he's in surgery for his hip, but so far he's in stable condition. So he was shot this morning in a politically motivated targeted attack by a leftist who deliberately sought out Republicans. The shooting took place at a practice for the GOP congressional baseball team. So I'm sorry, it wasn't a senator, it was a congressman, my mistake, in Alexandria, Virginia. The suspect was shot by Scalise's security detail and is now in custody. Other reports say he was killed. Quote, he had a rifle that was clearly meant for the job of taking people out, multiple casualties. And he had several rounds and magazines that he kept unloading and reloading. Well, this guy must be a crappy shot if he couldn't kill anybody, said Michigan Representative Mike Bishop. Scalise, a member of the House Republican leadership as the majority whip, appeared to have been shot in the hip, and it appeared 2 Capitol Hill police agents were shot, according to Representative Mo Brooks, reports the Clinton News Network. According to CNN analyst Rebecca Bird, the gunman had a conversation with Representative Jeff Duncan before the shooting began, in which he asked, are those Republicans or Democrats out there practicing? So we have gunfire, unfortunately, and if this gunman isn't dead, certainly This is a federal crime. He tried to take out several people. There's got to be multiple counts of, attempted murder here. And I'm not sure. Will this be labeled a terrorist act? Then you have to throw that in. Does the guy get life in prison? Does he get the death penalty? Probably the former, life in prison. And I think he should. Now, continuing with the government and its shenanigans, and I have to say shenanigans, Attorney General Jeff Sessions testified yesterday to the Senate committee over this Russian garbage. And I refuse to watch it because it's laughable. Comey's testimony already proved the Russians had no impact on the election. Trump was never under investigation. Personally, this investigation crap on Trump and his administration should be closed. And now there should be proceedings to see who gets indicted first. Comey, Lynch, Clinton, both Clintons, Obama, and whoever else. Chuck Schumer for passing this memo business. James Comey's friend who leaked it directly to the New York Times. Heads have to roll, and that's what they should be investigating on. And now there's also reports that this Bob Mueller is a Clinton insider. And, well, I could have told you that. This whole thing is an absolute witch hunt, and it's time to discontinue that and go after the perpetrators of this nonsense and the real criminals. So I'm going to play for you. And again, yes, it is courtesy of Infowars.com. The top 10 moments from AG Jeff Sessions where he schools and beats down this Senate hearing.
Let me state this clearly, colleagues. I have never met with or had any conversation with any Russians or any foreign officials concerning any type of interference with any campaign or election in the United States. Further, I have no knowledge of any such conversations by anyone connected to the Trump campaign. I was your colleague in this body for 20 years, at least some of you, and and the suggestion that I participated in any collusion, that I was aware of any collusion with the Russian government to hurt this country, which I have served with honor for 35 years, or to undermine the integrity of our democratic process, is an appalling and detestable lie.
Mr. Comey told us when he was here last week that he had a very specific recollection. In fact, he chased it down through the intelligence community and was not able to find a scintilla of evidence to that effect. Then he sought out both Republicans and Democrats up here to tell them that this was false, that there was no such facts anywhere that corroborated what the New York Times had reported. Nonetheless, after that, the
failing New York Times leading the way in fake news.
We spent really substantially more time on that than we have on the Russian active measures. We've been through thousands of pages of information, interviewed witnesses, and everything else. We're really no different than where we were when this whole thing started. But and there's been no reports that I know of any factual information in that regard. Are you aware of any such information of collusion?
Is that arose from the dossier, so-called dossier, Senator Rich? Is that what you're referring to?
Well, we're anywhere.
I believe that's the report that Senator Franken hit me with when I was testifying, and it, I think, has been pretty substantially discredited, but you would know more than I. But what was said that would suggest I participated in the continuing communications with Russians over as a surrogate is absolutely false.
You're a longtime colleague, but we heard Mr. Coates and we heard Admiral Rogers say essentially the same thing when it was easy just to say if the answer was no, no.
Well, it would have been easy to say if it was yes, yes, but both would have been improper. Deputy Rosenstein's letter dealt with a number of things. When Mr. Comey declined the Clinton prosecution, that was really a usurpation of the authority of the federal prosecutors in the Department of Justice. It was a stunning development. The
bombshell.
FBI
That's bombshell.
is the investigative team. They don't decide prosecution policies. And so that was a thunderous thing. He also commented at some length on the declination of the Clinton prosecution, which you should not normally, and you shouldn't do. Mr. Comey, perhaps he didn't know, but I basically recused myself the first day I got into the office because I never accessed files. I never learned the names of investigators. I never met with them. I never asked for any documentation. The documentation, what little I received, was mostly already in the media and was presented by the senior ethics, public responsibility, professional responsibility attorney in the department.
General,
and I made a honest and proper decision to recuse myself, as I told Senator Feinstein and the members of the committee I would do when they confirmed me.
General Sessions, respectfully, you're not answering the question.
Well, what is the question?
The question is, Mr. Comey said that there were matters with respect to the recusal that were problematic and he couldn't talk about them. What are they?
Why don't you tell me? There are none, Senator Wyden. There are none. I can tell you that for absolute.
I bet you this guy's name is Senator Wyden. Sessions, you're hiding evidence. Who the hell is this fruit? I'm sorry, but come on. Just listen to this guy. Is it any wonder he's a freaking Democrat? Dear Sessions, what's going on here? What's this all about? Huh? Tell us the truth. Holy crap.
Certainty. You tell, this is a secret innuendo being leaked out there about me, and I don't appreciate it. And I've tried to give my best and truthful answers to any committee I've appeared before, and it's really people are suggesting through innuendo that I have been not honest about matters, and I've tried to be honest.
So I want to ask you just point blank, why did you sign the letter recommending the firing of Director Comey when it violated your recusal?
It did not violate my recusal. It did not violate my recusal. That would be the answer to that. And the letter that I signed represented my views that had been formulated for some time.
Mr. Chairman, just if I can finish, that answer, in my view, doesn't pass the smell test. The president tweeted repeatedly about his anger at investigations into his associates in Russia. The day before you wrote your letter, he tweeted that the collusion story was a total hoax and asked, when will this taxpayer-funded charade end? I don't think your answer passes the smell test.
There are two investigations here. There is a special counsel investigation. There is also a congressional investigation. And you are obstructing that congressional investigation by not answering these questions. And I think your silence, like the silence of Director Coates, like the silence of Admiral Rogers, speaks volumes.
I would say that I have consulted with senior career attorneys in the department,
I suspect
and they believe
you have.
this is consistent with my duties.
Last night, Admiral Rogers spent almost 2 hours in closed session with almost the full committee, fulfilling his commitment to us in the hearing that in closed session he would answer the question, and I think it was thoroughly answered. And all members were given an opportunity to ask questions. I just want the record to show that with what Senator Heinrich stated.
I am on this side of the dais. So a very simple question that should be asked is, did Donald Trump or any of his associates in the campaign collude with Russia in hacking those emails and releasing them to the public? That's where we started 6 months ago. We have now heard from 6 of the 8 Democrats on this committee, and to my knowledge, I don't think a single one of them asked that question. They've gone down lots of other rabbit trails about that question. Maybe that is because Jim Comey said last week, as he said to Donald Trump, that on 3 times he assured him he was not under investigation. Maybe it's because multiple Democrats on this committee have stated they have seen no evidence thus far after 6 months of our investigation and 11 months of an FBI investigation of any such collusion. Do you like spy fiction?
See, it's time to end this crap once and for all. And I think somehow, I don't know how we can do this, how we the American people can tell the Senate committee to just cut the crap, move on, and go after the real criminals, okay? There is zero evidence of the Russians having any impact on anything. There is no proof that they were the leakers to WikiLeaks. All of the circumstantial evidence and all of the motives point to DNC insiders like Seth Rich, who was murdered in Washington, D.C. There were Bernie Sanders supporters also that uncovered the fact, and it started with Debbie Wasserman Schultz's emails, that they were absolutely rigging the Democratic primaries to make Bernie Sanders lose. And it's funny because, you know what? They actually did us a favor. Because I think with these millennials and these other liberal idiots out there, they might have elected Bernie Sanders president. Because his rallies were almost as big as Trump's. And I said that a few days ago. So, by screwing Bernie Sanders, they screwed their entire agenda. Because Bernie Sanders was on board with many of the Democrats' agenda. Much of it. And he wanted to hand out free cookies to everybody. Except the American taxpayer, you and me. So, by doing that, they helped us, and that works for me. Let's continue on.
John Le Carre, Daniel Silva, Jason Matthews.
Yeah, Alan first. David,
do you like Russian salad dressing?
Ignatius's book.
Do you like Jason Bourne or James Bond movies?
No. Yes.
Have you ever, in any of these fantastical situations, heard of a plot line so ridiculous that a sitting United States senator and an ambassador of a foreign government colluded at an open setting with hundreds of other people to pull off the greatest caper in the history of espionage?
Thank you for saying that, Senator Cotton. It's just like through the looking glass. I mean, what is this? I explained how, in good faith, I said I had not met with Russians because they were suggesting I, as a surrogate, had been meeting continuously with Russians. I said I didn't meet with them. And now the next thing you know, I'm accused of some reception, plotting some sort of influence campaign for the American election. It's just beyond my capability to understand, and I really appreciate, Mr. Chairman, the opportunity at least to be able to say publicly I didn't participate in that and know nothing about it.
Let's turn to the potential crimes that we know have happened. Leaks of certain information. Here's a short list of what I have. The contents of alleged transcripts of alleged conversations between Mr. Flynn and Mr. Kislyak. The contents of President Trump's phone calls with Australian and Mexican leaders, the content of Mr. Trump's meetings with the Russian foreign minister and the ambassador, the leak of the Manchester bombing suspect's identity and crime scene photos, and last week, within 20 minutes of this committee meeting in a classified setting with Jim Comey, the leak of what the basis of Mr. Comey's innuendo was. Are these leaks serious threats to our national security, and is the Department of Justice taking them with the appropriate degree of seriousness in investigating and ultimately going to prosecute them to the fullest extent of the law?
Thank you, Senator Cotton. We have had one successful case very recently in Georgia. That person has been denied bail, I believe, and is being held in custody.
That's reality
But
winner.
some of these leaks, as you well know, are extraordinarily damaging to the United States security. And we have got to restore a regular order principle. We cannot have.
But see, they're so
persons in
obsessed
our
with
intelligence agencies, our
non-existent Russian
investigative agencies, or
hacking
in
that they can't
Congress.
even address the deep state that is trying to undermine President Trump. This is a total agenda to take Trump out, folks. It's so obvious.
Will result in, is already resulting in investigations, and I'm fear that some people may find that they wish they hadn't leaked.
Did you have any communication with any Russian businessmen or any Russian nationals?
Now, I understand that Jeff Sessions can't name who the Department of Justice will be targeting. Now, as Owen Schroyer pointed out, that one person has been arrested, and again with no bail. This reality winner broad, she is a no-name nothing. And I sincerely hope that the Trump administration doesn't think that that's going to be enough for us, that they nab one little dingbat. Because she's a nobody. We want major names, and we better get major names in the months ahead. So going back to the clip, we're going to hear from another Democrat grilling Sessions over nonsense.
I don't believe I had any conversation with Russian businessmen or Russian nationals.
Are you aware of
Although
any communications?
a lot of people were at the convention, it's conceivable that somebody
Sir,
came
I
up to me.
have just a few.
Will you let me qualify it? If I don't qualify it, you'll accuse me of lying. So I need to be correct as best I can.
I do want you to be
and
honest.
I'm not able to be rushed this fast. It makes me nervous.
Are you aware of any communications with any Trump officials, or did you have any communications with any officials about Russia or Russian interests in the United States before January 20th?
No, I may have had some conversations, and I think I did, with the general strategic concept of the possibility of whether or not Russia and the United States could get on a more harmonious relationship and move off the hostility. The Soviet Union did, in fact, collapse. It's really a tragic strategic event that we're not able to get along better than we are today.
Sworn, and you referred to a longstanding DOJ policy. Can you tell us what policy it is you're talking about?
Well, I think most cabinet people, as the witnesses you had before you earlier, those individuals declined to comment because we're all about conversations with the president.
Sir, I'm just asking you about the DOJ policy you referred to.
Policy that goes beyond just the Attorney General.
Is that policy in writing somewhere?
I think so.
So did you not consult it before you came before this committee, knowing we would ask you questions about it?
Well, we talked about it. The policy is based...
Did you ask that it would be shown to you?
The policy is based on the principle that the president...
Sir, I'm not asking about the principle. I'm asking when you would be asked these questions and you would rely on that policy. Did you not ask your staff to show you the policy that would be the basis for you refusing to answer the majority of questions that have been asked of you?
should be allowed to answer the question.
Senators will allow the chair to control the hearing. Senator Harris, let him answer.
Please do.
This bitch needs to shut the F up. What is this broad's name? Kamala Johnson or some crap? Kamala. Well, that just says it all, doesn't it? And I know this is audio, but you can tell what skin tone Miss Kamala is. I mean, this bitch, the chairman should have reached over and just slapped her in the face. What an obnoxious libtwat. Makes me sick.
Thank you.
We talked about it, and we talked about the real principle that's at stake. It's one that I have some appreciation for as having spent 15 years in the Department of Justice, 12 as United States Attorney, and that principle is that the Constitution provides the head of the executive branch certain privileges, and that members, one of them is confidentiality of communications, and it is improper for agents of any department any departments in the executive branch to waive that privilege without a clear approval of the president.
I have asked,
and that's the situation we're in.
For a yes or no, did you ask?
So the answer is yes. I consulted.
Did you ask your staff to see the policy?
Expired.
Apparently not.
At those meetings, if you spoke with Ambassador Kislyak in your capacity as a member of the Armed Services Committee,
I think this broad's time on this committee has expired. What an obnoxious bitch. She doesn't even let the Attorney General answer the question. She's just rolling over him, rolling. I'm telling you, if this broad does that to the President of the United States, if he sits up there, she ought to just be removed. What a scumbag. A real scumbag.
you presumably talked with him about Russia-related security issues that you have demonstrated is important to you as a member of the committee?
And we know this idiot is John McCain, the senile senator.
Did I discuss security issues?
I don't recall you as being.
Here we go, John McCain having a senior moment again.
Such issues.
Repeat that, Senator McCain. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Senator McCain. Your dementia got in the way of you making sense.
As a member of the committee, did you raise those with him?
You mean?
Can we get a translator for this man?
Nuclear issues, or
yeah, in other words, Russia-related security issues. In your capacity as the chairman of the Strategic Forces Subcommittee, what Russia-related security issues did you hold hearings on or otherwise demonstrate a keen interest in? Politico recently reported that in the middle of the 2016 elections, the FBI found that Russian diplomats whose travel the State Department was supposed to track had gone missing. Some turned up wandering around the desert or driving around Kansas. Reportedly, intelligence sources conclude that after about a year of inattention, these movements indicate, one, that Moscow's espionage ground game has grown stronger and more brazen, and that quietly the Kremlin has been trying to map the United States telecommunications infrastructure.
Every morning before I start writing or shooting a video,
I don't even know what the hell Senator John McCain is even asking. Roaming through the desert of Kansas? What? The man is absolutely unhinged and senile. Pelosi, Maxine Waters, and John McCain. Three absolutely senile. They've got to be senile. There's got to be something seriously wrong with those people. Has to be. What the hell was he talking about? Just rambling and drooling. I've just never encountered something, and you could hear Sessions going, can you repeat that? What? I mean, oh my God. John McCain. If Attorney General Sessions, before he was the Attorney General, he was chairman of the Strategic Arms Committee, if he was indeed meeting with Russian diplomats, I am sure that Jeff Sessions met with more diplomats than just Russians. I believe that was his job. As it's been proven, Nancy Pelosi met with the Russians. Look at John McCain himself. We've got the photos of him rubbing elbows with ISIS, Syrian rebels. We've got the photos of him cavorting with the enemy. And he's asking Jeff Sessions, I think, asking him what his duties were and what his Russian involvement was as chairman of the Strategic Committee? Crazy. Here's something else that's crazy. This is coming from, and yeah, I'm using NPR.org for an article because, well, quite frankly, I don't think I could find a conservative website, either mainstream media or independent media, that would even print this laughable, stupid situation. This is written by Marilyn G. Wax. You cannot make this up. G. Wax. What kind of a freaking name is G. Wax? But breaking news from NPR. Breaking news. Attorneys General of Maryland and D.C. sue Trump over his businesses. This is from June 14th. Can states force President Trump to sell off his businesses? That question is being raised by a new legal challenge to Trump's continued ownership, listen to this, of far-flung businesses. What the hell does that even mean? Far-flung. I mean, first of all, this broad is a crappy writer. Donald Trump is a self-made billionaire, has a global empire, and the woman starts out by being very demeaning. Here's another man-hater. Is that a womansologist or some shit? I don't know. On Monday, the attorneys general, I like to say the attorney generals, but whatever, from Maryland and the District of Columbia filed a lawsuit in a Maryland federal court saying that Trump's failure to sell off his interests in hotels, golf courses, office buildings, and other properties is undermining public trust and violating the U.S. Constitution's Emoluments Clause. Now, personally, at face value, I don't see how keeping his name on his businesses, yet handing over the day-to-day operations to his sons, which is perfectly legal, perfectly understandable, perfectly logical, does anything to violate the public trust. I personally don't. I think that's opinion. I think that's arbitrary. And I don't think that would actually hold up in any court, any time, any place. Let's move on to this Constitution Emoluments Clause. Quote, President Trump's continued ownership interest in a global business empire, which renders him deeply enmeshed with a legion of foreign and domestic government actors, so they're actors, I see, violates the Constitution and calls into question the rule of law and the integrity of the country's political system. The lawsuit charges. A similar suit was filed in a New York federal court. So, New York, Maryland, Washington, D.C. Gee, I'm sure there's no political influence here. No, I'm sure. By Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, or CREW, a public interest group. Really, Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics. I wonder how many lawsuits they filed against Clinton, Podesta, etc., etc. I wonder how many. I'm sure the answer is 0. On Friday, last Friday, right, which was what? I believe the 9th. The Trump administration's Justice Department responded saying the case should be dismissed because the plaintiffs lack the legal standing to sue. The court will have to decide that in the coming months. On Monday, White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer was asked about the new state-backed lawsuit. He replied that Trump's business interests do not violate the Emoluments Clause for reasons spelled out by the Justice Department's filing on Friday. This new suit was brought by these attorneys general, who are both Democrats, Spicer noted. It's not hard to conclude that partisan politics may be one of the motivations for filing suit. We'll continue to move to dismiss the case in the normal course of business. But the latest suit may make a stronger case than Cruz because the plaintiffs are D.C. Attorney General Karl Racine and Maryland Attorney General Brian Frost. I don't give a damn who these idiots are. I don't care that they have a title of Attorney General. It's still a bunch of crap. I believe, off the top of my head, the Emoluments Clause says no public official can receive money or some other compensation from any foreign dignitary. I believe that's basically the gist of it. Well, if that's the case, can anyone explain to me the money received by the Clinton Foundation when she was New York Senator and when she was Secretary of State? Can someone explain to me how that was okay? Meanwhile, Trump had those businesses before he was ever a public figure. Ever. He has turned his day-to-day operations to his children. Mitt Romney, as I recall, did not sell off any of his businesses when he was running for president. He put his business interests into a trust to be run by who I imagine he handpicked to run his interests. But Mitt Romney still had his name on whatever he owned. And nobody said a word. We all know that Harry Reid's son has made a fortune through the Bureau of Land Management seizing private property and then selling it off to the Chinese for billions. We all know how Nancy Pelosi is is she a billionaire? Or, I'm sorry, just a multi-millionaire. We all know that these political elites practice insider trading, give real estate and other construction contracts to their family members. We all know about it. So let's not talk about emoluments, collusion, and any other crap when we see what's going on a day-to-day basis inside of Washington, D.C. Enough. This lawsuit is laughable, and I cannot see how this is going to go anywhere but into the delete bin. It is just more left-wing garbage because they really have nothing else. They really have nothing of substance on Donald Trump or any people in his administration. And I am fully confident that Donald Trump is prepared for any attack in any court that may take place. I'm confident that he's ready. Now, for somewhat the lighter side of the news, but really something that on a Christian issue, I have a problem with. This is coming from Godfather Politics, Gary DeMar, June 13th, 2017. The Pittsburgh Pirates organization, and I'm sure most of you know, it's a baseball team, celebrates Gay Pride Day. First of all, they're not gay. Let's stop with the communist, politically correct word speak game. Gay means happy and lighthearted. Remember the story of the gay 90s, the 1890s? Not everybody was a homosexual in the 1890s, okay? It meant good and lighthearted times. These people are homosexuals. They have chosen and have the compulsion for an unnatural, abominable, sexual persuasion. So, let's get the gay pride thing. It's homosexual pride, and I don't know what the hell there's anything to take pride in on that note. So the Pittsburgh Pirates organization celebrates Gay Pride Day on Kids Day. Will Echo Sexual Day be next? Why would anyone celebrate a sex act at a professional baseball game? That's what being gay is all about, a sex act. It's what being homosexual is all about, a sex act. The thing that separates homosexuals from heterosexuals is the type of sex they engage in. What does same-sexuality have to do with pride or sports? They don't. For the Pittsburgh Pirates organization, it's worse than just having a celebrity nod to homosexuals and the alphabet soup of gender bending. It's that the Pirates capitulated to the perversion by combining it with Kids Day. And I should have grabbed this picture. I think I will. Allegedly, there's going to be a baseball cap, and the Pirates have the P on their cap for Pittsburgh and I guess for Pirates. It's going to be in the rainbow colors of inclusion. Isn't that special? Oh, it's so sweet. Quotes. It seems you can't even take your kid to a ball game these days without encountering the old red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. The pride flag will take the place of Old Glory in Pittsburgh PNC Park on July 2nd when the Pirates' first ever homosexual Pride Day falls on the weekly Kids Day. Each ticket to the Major League Baseball game will include a Pirates Pride Day cap, complete with the rainbow-hued P. This is just utterly disgusting. When mental health awareness advocate Richard Jarzaninka has begun to campaign on Facebook to protest the conflation of the two events. That'd be the combining. Quote, I've been a Pittsburgh Pirate fan for 50 seasons, he declared online. That ended the day he found out about the Pirates' Pride celebration. Again, quote, as a Christian, I cannot support an organization which actively promotes a behavior which the Word of God repeatedly and unequivocally declares to be a sin, Jarzinka wrote at LifeSite News. What happened to our society that sports teams engage in the promotion of such perversity? Haven't the Pirates' big shots been following the leftist downward spiral of ESPN? That's right, baby. Vote with your dollar, Christians. Like most film fans, sport fans don't want to be propagandized. They want to be entertained. We're sick of people like someone like actress Sally Field, who believes she's the guardian of the public discourse. Quote, Sally Field, nominated for Best Leading Actress for her role in The Glass Menagerie, which really, these leftists are in a menagerie, posted a picture for herself sporting a Planned Parenthood pin on her outfit. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pirates, well, the Pittsburgh baseball team might as well change their name to the Pittsburgh Butt Pirates. My name is Michael B. This is the Truth Zone, deep in the vortex of the information revolution. Christians, wear your crosses loud and proud. See you tomorrow.